who manages climate tech portfolios and other responsibilities at Kenya Capital Ventures. And he's joining us from Nairobi, Kenya. Mark, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much, Jayasri. It's quite a pleasure to be on this platform this evening. I'm calling from Kenya, Nakuru, Kenya, to be specific, and Mark Ameyo, representing Kenya, gender inclusive and climate impact investor in Kenya, providing both capital and technical assistance support to micro and small and medium enterprises in Kenya, specifically in the 5 target sectors mostly affected by climate change, that is agribusiness, waste management, water management, commercial forestry, and renewable energy.
That's interesting. That's actually how I wanted to begin the interview as well. I was about to tell you to introduce what work you and your team do in climate in Kenya. I especially wanted to know what Kenya Climate Venture does and what's your role within the company. Do you want to give a quick brief to our viewers before we get started on the discussion?
Sure, Jeffrey. So yes, my role specifically at Kenya Climate Ventures is to I'm an enterprise development officer, and that essentially means that I provide both financing and capacity building support, essentially portfolio management support to our 23 enterprises within Kenya. That entails starting from participation that are in the market in terms of the sectors that are interested, and management of these funds altogether till the duration of the contract. And when I mean management, I essentially mean performance management. That essentially means provision of technical assistance and business development support, along with linkages to some of these startups, some of these SMEs with other investors. I also manage a platform that enables the interaction of investors and applicants in the Kenyan market. So this is a real-time web-based platform exclusively owned by KCB that enables our investors in the Kenyan space to interact with portfolio and pipeline companies and be able to provide access to follow-on financing for our portfolio companies. Thank you.
All right. Okay. So, for some of our viewers may not be familiar with a lot of terms and jargons involved in the world of investing. For such viewers unfamiliar with impact investing, could you explain the concept and maybe in very few words explain what impact investing is and its role in Africa's development?
Great. So impact investing is essentially investments that is essentially drawn towards generating sustainable impact or effect in the life in the social and economic livelihoods of people, directing or channeling investments to enterprises that have a capacity and magnitude to generate impact that alleviates some of the effects of climate change. Essentially, we are talking about either reduction of greenhouse emissions, improvements of households' incomes. We're also talking about reduction of use of fossil fuels and maybe incorporation of more clean energy sources, yes, to enterprises that will generate both a social and economic and even a climate impact in the societies. Yeah.
So from the climate point of view, so what are the key focus areas for Kenya Climate Ventures in terms of climate smart solution? Are you talking about agribusinesses? Are you talking about waste management and water management alone, or there are other areas as well?
Good question. So what we try to do at Kenya Climate Ventures is to focus on the sectors that will be able to generate as much impact as possible. Based on our analysis, we narrowed down to 5 predominant sectors. One of the sectors is agribusiness, and here we're talking about some subsectors like agri-tech, agri-processing. We're also talking about another sector called water management. How do we access to water and sanitation? We're also talking about renewable energy, and here we're talking about clean energy. We're also yes, essentially clean energy. We're talking about cook stoves. We're talking about briquettes. We are also talking about another sector is commercial forestry, and here we are majorly speaking about seedling production. We're majorly speaking about some of these difficult claims. We're also talking about waste management. How do you convert waste into something that is sustainable? For instance, we're talking about sugar bagasse. How you convert sugar bagasse to briquettes, and you sell the briquettes, and briquettes are examples of clean energy and emit less fossil fuels, into the environment.
That sounds very exciting. Can you give an example of a successful company at KCV and the impact it is creating? Perhaps our viewers would be very excited about knowing about such kind of a company. Hello? Mark, I think you're on mute. Could you please check your audio once again?
Great. Can you hear me now? Apologies.
Yeah, no problem.
Yeah, perfect. So I was saying I can start off by giving an overview of the impact generated so far by KCV, and then maybe an example of a portfolio company. So far, KCV, we have been able to deploy assets under management of about 4.3 million USD, and we have impacted 4,600 direct and indirect jobs. These are the jobs that our portfolio companies, the 23, have created in the Kenyan market and also beyond. 50,074 households have also been able to access sustainable livelihoods, benefited and 60 micro enterprises, installed more than 6.9 megawatts of grid renewable energy, contributed to the reduction of CO2 emissions amounting to 400 CO2 emissions. In terms of some of our portfolio companies that we have seen have been able to generate a lot of I can see impact into the Kenyan market. We can talk of one of our companies that is 100% women owned and led, which is an agro processor and exporter. They aggregate macadamia nuts from smallholder farmers, and then they also sell it to the export market. We're able to put in an investment of debt in 2017, and then of course also a convertible debt in 2020. And we have seen that the business has actually grown to include from a portfolio of 1 to 10 in the US, in Europe, China, Japan, and other markets, and leveraged an estimated 2 million of follow-on investments from critical investors such as Rubber Rural Fund, Root Capital, USAID, and WRI. This same enterprise has been able to create and sustain 163 jobs, provided 7,500 households with access to markets for their products, and supported retail enterprises in accessing business opportunities.
That's actually quite impressive. So, from the point of view of a company like Kenya Climate Ventures, what are the biggest challenges that such kind of companies face when evaluating and supporting climate-focused businesses?
All right, great. That's a very good question. So one of the key challenges that we have actually noticed in some of our enterprises that actually made us to not only offer financing but to also offer capacity or other technical assistance support is you find that sometimes in the investment scale, in the investment market, you find an enterprise could have a very good business model. It's validated that it can actually generate as much capital, both commercial and social capital into the market. However, you find that there is a challenge in capacity of some of these enterprises. You'll find that they have weak governance structures, they have weak financial management structures, they don't have adequate sales and marketing or other growth strategies put in place. They might even be having challenges in supply chain. So what we normally do at Kenya Climate Ventures is over and above the financing that we provide, we also link some of these enterprises and to a great extent the founders and the management with expert technical assistance support. This is to capacity build them to be able to provide more services and more value to their target markets. So this capacity assistance support can range from a period of 6 months to 1 year, specifically targeted and tailor made to specific challenges that these enterprises are facing, maybe challenges in supply chain, maybe challenges in governance, maybe challenges in sales and marketing. Build these challenges, and this is post technical assistant monitoring, and this entails constant reviews and making sure that the recommendations put forth are actually being followed through, and these enterprises are continuing on to generate as much impact as possible.
It's interesting. So, at My Startup TV Africa, we are not creating content just for entrepreneurs. We are also focusing on ecosystems that support such entrepreneurs. Uh, we know that a lot of our young audience are keen on pursuing careers in the startup ecosystems in their country, their states, and whatever. So, the profile you have at Kenya Climate Ventures, it is actually quite exciting and it sounds very interesting. So maybe we could spend the next few minutes trying to understand about what your day looks like and what it is to have a career and a profession in the line that you choose. So could you just walk us through your typical day as an enterprise development officer at Kenya Climate Ventures? What are, for example, your key responsibilities? Let's start with something like that.
Right. It's quite an interesting question. So for those who want to maybe venture into this space, I can tell you it's a space of long hours, but you will be able to put a smile on somebody's face at the end of the day. So my typical day usually starts with a review of, of, of maybe a deal, maybe an investment pitch deck that has been possible evaluation, not only to for investments, but also for access to follow on, understanding the value proposition, what this entrepreneur wants to actually generate, wants to deploy market. And then, of course, I am the investors, then actually support this entrepreneur wants to achieve
Okay. So
based on
please go on.
industry
Please go.
knowledge. Is this a business model that will scale? Then, of course, from there, then you start also evaluating what will be the possible capacity needs that this entrepreneur will require. Also, evaluate to make sure that this is sustainable in the long run, and then interact with some of my portfolio clients, find out what are some of the challenges are going through that you are looking at introducing them to. Then I also have to interact with the investors, find out how are they interacting with some of our portfolio companies on our platform, what are some of the key issues that they may need addressed. Then maybe towards the end of the day, catch up with your colleagues, trying to understand what are some of the areas that you can provide more support in. Yeah, so this is a very interesting market. And for one to be able to join this market, they must love people, they must love impact, they must want to generate as much impact into the market as possible. They must also love not losing investors' money because at the end of the day, we also don't want to lose the funds that we have been given to actually deploy. Yeah.
That's exciting. So, someone in your position, how do you measure a company's success, the companies that you support, their success? Is it purely financial, or are there any broader metrics?
Okay, very good question. So yes, so we our metrics that we measure performance are on one, we measure business performance, and this one we're looking at essentially financial. We're looking at revenue growth. We're looking at maybe bidder growth. We're also looking at wage bill, how many jobs have they been able to increase over time during the course of the investment. Then we also look at some social indicators like households that are benefiting, women owned or led. So, there's a lot of push into gender lens investing currently. So, you look at women owned enterprises that have benefited, youth owned or led enterprises that have also benefited. We also look at some environmental indicators, such as waste recycled, the tonnage of wastes that have been recycled, CO2 emissions that have been reduced, CO2 just greenhouse gas emissions that have been reduced. We also look at clean energy that have been installed, especially for most of our renewable energy projects. We also look at other factors such as water saved, if there's been water that has been actually been saved, liters of water that have been saved. We also look at more so in the employment avenue. We look at the women employed, women in management, women in the board, that, and then what else? Yeah, I think those are pretty much the main indicators.
Oh, so gender diversity is an important conversation happening in the startup ecosystem in Kenya, it seems, because you have stressed earlier and even now about how number of women in the workforce, number of women in leadership positions. This is a very interesting takeaway from this discussion. So I had one more question to add to this. I wanted to know that of the so many companies that you manage, I mean, you have a portfolio of so many companies. In your work experience, what do you think is the most important quality in an entrepreneur that will take him or her to to the path of success? Like, a startup has a good. I read somewhere that a startup has a good future if the entrepreneur is of a good kind. It really all boils down to how the founder is conducting himself or herself. So in your other than that, but this is again read from a book from someone who's actually working on with the startup community day in and day out. What do you think is the most important quality in an entrepreneur?
Okay. So the thing that we really look at in terms of an entrepreneur is, as you may or not be aware, is that there's a common saying that 95% of businesses, I think it's 95% of businesses actually fail within the first year of them starting. So what we are really looking at in terms of our entrepreneurs is resilience. Are they resilient? Can they be able to put in the work? Yeah, we look at entrepreneurs that are teachable, entrepreneurs that are looking for more support. They are willing to go an extra mile to actually make sure that they are able to bring their businesses to the point where they want to go. And these are entrepreneurs that will take advice. These are entrepreneurs that will be resilient. They will not give up. These are entrepreneurs that are hungry. They are always searching for opportunities. These are entrepreneurs that are quick. Yeah, quick in terms of documentation requests, quick in terms of linkages, support, quick in terms of that kind of interaction between government, between investors, etc. So resilience is one of the key things. A mind that does not want to give up is a very attractive trait for an investor to look at an entrepreneur.
Okay, I'm going to devote the next few minutes into the future of climate smart solutions in Africa. So, my first question in this segment would be: what are some of the most promising trends in climate smart solutions across Africa? Let's start with Kenya. What do you think are some of the most promising trends in climate solutions in Kenya?
Sorry. Well, I tend to believe that the various opportunities, essentially in Kenya, will be in the area of agri-tech. Right now, technology is playing a very big part of the investments, especially in climate, and we're finding out that some of these enterprises that are encompassing technology are actually enterprises that will be sustainable for the future. I can give you an example, like a company that provides solutions for post-harvest losses of produce, a company that connects CBOs, cooperatives, farmers in extension to export markets, to more international markets. Those are some of the enterprises that will be very, very key for an investor to invest in, not only in Kenya, but also in Africa. Another key place would be in aquaculture. We are seeing that there's a great move of now investments in fisheries and in projects that can be able to improve our coastal biodiversity. We are also looking at investments in renewable energy. As you may or not be aware, right now 98% of electricity in Africa is actually being generated from clean energy sources. And these are some of the avenues that investors are putting in more money, especially in solar. We're talking about majorly solar PV projects. We're also talking about clean cook stoves, especially for the markets mostly in the refugee settlements and in the marginalized markets. So these are some of the areas that I believe investors are really looking into. One of the other areas is, of course, on water and sanitation, to be specific. We're looking at how do we mostly purify water. So companies that come up with solutions or water purification solutions, like water filtering solutions, will be very, very key. Yeah.
That sounds very inspiring. But how do you think the government and such policymakers can support the initiatives that you just mentioned, the businesses that you just mentioned?
So the government can usually come in terms of policy, just enacting proper laws that actually support investments. Government can also come in by pushing more blended investments. For instance, KCV participated in the recent WASIC conference, that was a water investment conference in Nairobi, and the government was actually very much willing to work with the private sector, being asked the private investments to actually draw in more investments into water through blended mechanism. By blended mechanism, I mean combination of various forms of capital, could be debt, could be equity, convertible debt, together with capacity building support. Right, with technical capacity support, because we found out that these entrepreneurs not only need financing, but they also need capacity to be able to be competitive and to draw impact into the African market by extension. Yeah. So government can come in through push of more blended investments, enacting more laws, try as much as possible not to overtax enterprises. That is one of the areas enterprises are actually feeling. But I think most of these laws needs to be enacted with a lot of consultation with the private sector.
Yeah, okay. Um, Looking ahead, what do you hope for the future of impact investing and its role in tackling climate change?
Well, I think the future. I think the future of climate change and climate investments is actually very bright. More and more financing is actually being channeled into specifically Africa, majorly because of the past historical aspects of not being properly financed. And we are seeing a lot of investments, especially in climate. You must be aware that there's, of course, the COP 27, and the generating initiatives that are being channeled through the United Nations, and some of
Seems there is a technical issue on the other end. Yeah, seems like there's a technical issue and probably an internet problem. I can see Mark's image frozen, but I can't hear him. Perhaps we'll wait for 1 or 2 more minutes and check if he can fix something. So, viewers, it seems like we have lost Mark from the interview. I think there's a technical snag at the other end, but I think it was by and large a very insightful discussion. Mark gave us some very useful insights into the world of climate tech and impact investing. Now, I wish we could. I could have thanked him on air for sharing his expertise and passion for Africa's entrepreneurial future, but I think this is it. The interview has to be concluded here. But before we bid goodbye to all of you, I have to serve one another quick reminder. Uh, you please do visit our websites, our social media pages, and our different other platforms on the internet, like our podcasts and websites. Uh, Starting for My Startup TV, I have said about it in the beginning of this program that we have podcasts on Amazon, on Spotify. We are on all the prominent social media channels like LinkedIn, Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, and YouTube. Of course, we have our website, and you can also download our app from the Google Play Store. You can access us 24/7. For viewers who just got very interested in climate impact investing, I also encourage all of you to check Mark's company. It's called Kenya Climate Ventures, and their website is at www.kcv.co.ke. So maybe if it will also guide you to their social media channels as well. So this is a wrap on tonight's episode. I thank you all of you for joining us. We have a vibrant community of entrepreneurs and supporters waiting on our website and social media channels. Keep watching My Startup TV. We'll be back next week with even more inspiring stories. Until then, this is Jayasri. On behalf of all my team, have a very pleasant evening. Thank you.